All right, we're back with the one and only Bob. We are starting on page 176, the chapter titled An Idea. I'm going in, says Massica, one of the younger ants. Might make things worse, Akalos cautions. Displace the mud, pull her down toward the bottom. I could go in, I suggest, the words popping out before I can swallow them. It's more mud than water, Bob. Akelo shakes her head. You'll get as stuck as kudzu. I don't exactly argue the point. I've got an idea, comes a small voice. All the aunties return to Ruby, and she looks startled to have her complete attention. A couple of us get on the other side of the moat, Ruby says. Grab trunks. We'll make like a, what'd you call it? A sling, I exclaim. A hammock, like the gorillas have. I don't know, Ruby. Akelo sounds doubtful. Kudzu grabs for Massica's trunk with both hands. Wait, Massica says. Think I've got her this time. Massica lifts her trunk with deliberate slowness, carefully trying to support the baby gorilla, but once again, Kudzu can't hold on. She lets out a despairing cry. Down she goes, lower this time, her nose and eyes just visible. Okay, Akelo says with a nod at Ruby. Let's give Ruby's idea a try. Massica, Leheli, Elodie cross over to the far side. Zaina, Ruby, and I will take this side. All three elephants move with surprising quickness to the spot where I crossed. They gallop back until they're facing us. It's strange to see them on the other side of the moat. With the wall destroyed, they're technically in Ivan and Kenyani's domain. Move down a bit, Akelo instructs. That way. She motions with her head. We want to scoop her out, not push her down. 3 on one side, 3 on the other. The elephants reach out for each other's trunks, creating a kind of cradle. Okay now, says Akelo, lower carefully. Down they go into the muddy water. Ruby nearly loses her footing, so I grab her tail with my teeth. It doesn't really help, and she yelps, ouch! But my heart's in the right place. Kudzu thrashes her tiny arms. Stay calm, I call, easy for me to say. She looks over at me, and I'll never forget the fear in her dark eyes. Then she vanishes below the surface. Team Elephant. Hurry, Ruby cries. The elephants bend lower, moving like a giant elephant shovel. Where is she? Massica asks. Lower, says Akelo. Lower, sisters. There. Ruby yells. No, wait, there. Up, Akelo commands, and the interlocked trunks rise from the muddy water to reveal a tiny trembling baby gorilla sitting in their makeshift sling. Kudzu, says Akelo, stay calm, baby. We're gonna toss you to safety, okay? Kudzu gives a little nod. On my count, says Akelo, start swinging. 1, 2, 3. Up and over go the trunks, and up and over goes Kudzu. She lands with a little plop on the gorilla side of the moat, right next to Miss Massica's rear legs. Good work, everyone, says Akelo. And good thinking, Ruby. Thanks, Elephant, says Kudzu, wiping mud from her eyes. That was fun. Can we do it again? Akelo takes a deep breath. Maybe later, sweetheart. Quickly, I make my way back over the moat. Kudzu, I say, follow me. Let's go find your 8 peeps. Can I go with Bob? Ruby asks Akelo. Akelo touches Ruby's back with her trunk. I'd much rather have you stay here, dear. And it's may I? But Uncle Ivan, Ruby pleads. I'll keep an eye on her, I tell Akelo. I'm going, Ruby says in her most determined voice. Maybe I can help. I helped just now. Akelo hesitates but finally gives a slow nod. Probably she figures there's no arguing with Ruby. She's right on that one. Ruby crosses the moat and joins Kudzu and me. Be careful, Akelo warns. There's more of this storm coming. I got her, Akelo. I say, you'd better have her, she warns. I think I flew, Bob, says Kudzu, as we weave our way through the wasteland that was Gorilla World. Yeah, me too, I say. It's that kind of day. what's out there. A handful of humans, firefighters and police mostly, have begun to roam the grounds, checking out the damage. We pass a park employee with a weapon slung over his shoulder and a net in one hand. Trank gun, he tells a passing police officer. We don't know what's out there. Trank meaning tranquilizer, where they will shoot an elephant just to, and the tranquilizer releases medicine in them that makes them like fall asleep so that nobody's in danger. Oh, something like a big cat, he shakes his head. Not fast enough. I look over at Ruby. Stay close, kid. As we near the gorilla villa, what's left of it anyways, a screech hits my ears that makes the wailing police sirens sound like mellowing kittens. It's Kenyani. She's frantically knuckle running back and forth near the collapsed gorilla villa. Chunks of cement, shredded wooden beams, and bent metal lie everywhere. A cluster of gorilla females and juveniles huddle not far from some rescue workers. There's Mama, Kudzu cries, dashing toward a gorilla named Jody. I'm just horrified by the destruction that I've almost forgotten my muddy little charge. I really shouldn't be trusted as an ape sitter. Kudzu darts over to her mother's waiting embrace. Jody nuzzles her and strokes her and says soothing motherly gorilla things. Thank you, Jody mouths to me. Don't thank me, I say, looking over at Ruby. Thank this little gal. She figured out how to save Kudzu. Thank you. Isn't it Ivan's friend? Thank you. Ruby, isn't it Ivan's friend? Ruby gives a shy nod. We all helped. I provided moral support, I add. I flew, Mama, says Kudzu. Of course you did, dear, says Jody. Kenyani's fresh wails focus my mind. I gotta go, I say. Ruby, you should stay here. I'm going for a no-nonsense voice, the one Julia uses on me when she calls me a Robert. Let me see what's what. I'll be right back. No way, Uncle Bob, Ruby replies just as firmly. I give up, but I'm afraid of what she might see, of what we both might see. Any sign of Ivan, I ask Jody. She shakes her head, a grim look clouding her eyes. With Ruby on my side, we approach the pile of wreckage that used to be the gorilla villa. At the same moment, Ruby and I gasp. There's Ivan's hand barely peeking through the rubble, not moving. I know that hand like the back of my own paw. No, Ruby screams. Uncle Ivan! I check the crowd. No sign of Julia or George. Nothing. No Maya either, and no or other keepers I recognize. Just a few employees, several rescue workers, and 2 or 3 dazed-looking visitors. Is he alive? A firefighter asks. Hand, whatever it's called, isn't moving. And says another, weaving my way through the tangle of legs, I climb up the rubble pile, sniff a bit, and bark my loudest, yes, he's alive! Get your rears in gear, bark! Just like that, those overachieving rescue dogs in the Man's Best Friend show, I listen for a sound from Ivan, a grunt, a cry for help. Nothing. Still, he smells alive. At least I think he does, and that's good enough for me. Xena. Another dog races over, a tough-looking German shepherd wearing an impressive glow-in-the-dark vest and some booty things to protect her feet from the rubble, but I hold my ground. This is my friend we're talking about. I lick Ivan's hand. His fingers twitch. Well, that's all it takes to get both of us barking like maniacs. More people gather. I see Maya next to Ruby, which makes me feel better. Name Xena, says the shepherd. Bob? I nudge Ivan's fingers with my nose. Nothing. And this is Ivan, my best bud. Sorry to hear it, she replies, and I don't like the sound of her voice. With great care and far too many for my taste, rescue workers began removing chunks of the wreckage and tossing them to one side. Xena and me, we mostly stay out of the way, but every so often I lick Ivan's hand, just so he knows we've got him covered. I glance over at Maya and Ruby. Maya's wiping tears from her eyes while she strokes Ruby's ears. Ruby is giving Maya a comforting trunk hug. Good old Ruby, wise beyond her years, that gal. I check the crowd again. Still no sign of Julia or George, and that's when a sickening thought hits me like a bite to my belly. What if Ivan isn't the only one under the rubble? Dragon. More police cars and ambulances arrive at the park. A handful of keepers stream in too, looking frantic and confused. The weirdest thing of all, wandering through all the destruction are random park residents. Animals, birds, reptiles, residents who most definitely do not belong in Gorilla World. A police officer is chasing an armadillo. A great blue heron watches the mayhem from her position atop a giraffe statue. A wallaby pokes his head out of a bush, his saucer eyes catching the fire engine lights. Nets! Someone yells, we need more nets. An older gentleman holding a blue umbrella lets out a blood-curdling scream. Dragon! He cries, I swear to you, I just saw a baby dragon. Sir, says a keeper named Malik, no worries. That's actually a Gila monster. His name is Gilligan. A paramedic raises his hand. They have, like, venom, don't they? They say a healthy adult won't die from it, Malik shrugs. Although they'll be in some serious pain. Wonderful, the paramedic mutters. I glance over my shoulder to see Sarah running toward Maya. I can't hear her words, but I can definitely see the worry in her eyes. Zena's ears tip forward. They're getting the cutters and the jaws of life. Jaws, I repeat. Don't like the sound of that. It spreads metal. They're probably getting close. Come on, we need to get out of the way. I ain't going anywhere. I hear you, she says, and I can tell from the weary sound of her voice that she's had this conversation before. But the best thing for Ivan right now is to let the humans do their thing. I think about it. Figure she's right. I give his fingers one last lick. They don't move. Nothing. Nada. We pick our way to the bottom of the debris pile. Hang in there, Ivan, I call. We love you, buddy. I know it's crazy, but I listen anyways, hoping for a sign, any sign that he's still with us. Hugging. I run to Kenyani. Don't worry, I tell her. He's going to make it. I can tell she doesn't believe me. From there, I head over to Maya and Sarah and Ruby. Maya has a radio headset in one hand, for some reason, a young squirming meerkat in the other. Sarah kneels down and hugs me tighter than any sweater she's ever knit. Bob, she cries, what happened to your nose? And look at your paw. Some dogs don't like to be hugged that way. I'm one of them. But Sarah needs to do it. I can tell somehow, so I let her. Isn't so bad, really. Loose. A new police officer joins us, Officer Williams. She nods at Maya. You're with the park, right? Yes, I'm Maya. This, Officer Williams pauses. We need to get this under control, ASAP. Winds are going to pick up, and we haven't even hit the eye. Storm surge could be an issue. This one's moving slow. We've got a skeleton staff here, says Maya, as a meerkat attempts to eat her earring. Early reports say maybe a third of the habitats are damaged or destroyed. She shakes her head. We've got some injuries, some possible fatalities too. Fatalities means death. Human? Don't think so. Anything loose that could be a, problem? Maya presses her lips together. Yep, such as a couple Florida panthers, gray wolves, pythons,